Hello, I'm Pamela Rivette, a 5-star psychic medium, live in the Alvin area. This is Parachat, and welcome to my show. We are here today to discuss spirituality or religion. We're here doing this topic so people can see the different varieties of how people believe and what it really means to them and just how serious they take what their beliefs are. My belief is more of a spiritual Christian-based religion, or should I say spirituality. And we have some folks with us today that are from the local area, and some of them have actually also been my clients, I'm going to be honest. And our first guest is Nate.
Thanks for having me, Pam.
You're very welcome, Nate. What's your viewpoint? Spirituality or religion?
Well, I've got a healthy mix of both. I love my religion. I'm proud to be a part of it. It's done a lot for me in life. But, religion itself is just rituals if they don't have meaning. And so the meaning side, that is where spirituality comes in, when you have a connection with the higher power. So one could go through the motions of religious rituals and not have spirituality involved, and all they've done is take a series of actions that don't have the meaning that they're supposed to have. And what that meaning is of course up to that person, or that person at that time in his or her life. So it's a complex subject. And with me, since you asked, sometimes in life I'm more spiritual, sometimes less. But it's always been helpful to me to be able to call on God and seek some strength in the Bible and see if there's a parallel situation to maybe what I'm dealing with or going through at that time in life, and see if I can draw some wisdom from it.
And if not, then you can see me.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So basically, what would you say your religion is exactly,
I'm
if you don't
Jewish.
mind? Jewish?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see that as somewhat being what would be considered the actual norm in society, or would you just see that as something that should be the norm, in your opinion, as far as the Jewish belief goes?
Well, this is a Christian country by and large. Most people here are some type of Christian. Christianity came from Judaism. Jesus himself was Jewish. So there's definitely a strong element of Judaism in Christianity. So whether or not something is the norm, I guess that depends. It's a very diverse country. In the Houston area, it's very diverse. You can go to a Hindu temple with an easy driving distance of where we are now. You could go to a Muslim mosque. Things are changing, but certainly the principles upon which this country were founded, things like the Constitution, things like our legal system, do derive from the Hebrew Bible. So there's definitely a strong element within our culture of Judaism.
Thank you. Hi, Laura. The topic today is spirituality or religion and what it means to you. What's your opinion on it?
My opinion is that God has looked over me many, many, many times, and I thank Him every day. I've had some serious things that He's taken care of. So.
Yeah, they always say He works in very mysterious ways. And He also has a tendency to bring the right people into our lives at the right time when we need them too as well. And even though the actual human beings that walk around the earth don't actually physically have wings, there's actually what's called earth angels that are amongst us here on earth. It's the firemen that save us when we're in our accidents. It's the doctors that save us in the operating room. There's angels all around us. All we have to do is really see and open our eyes to it. Regina, spirituality or religion? What does it mean to you?
Religion, coupling off what he said, is, to me, it's an organized belief. I do go to church regular. I believe in the traditions that we do, but it's the spirituality in me that gives the religion life, gives it breath. It's because of my spirituality that I believe so strongly in God and all the miracles around us. Like you said about the angels. Angels are everywhere. Any day, at any time, if you open your eyes, you can see a miracle, and that's because of the spirituality. I can go to any church and I can get accustomed to all the traditions that they have, but nobody but my spirituality can pump up that faith.
Dawn, spirituality or religion? What does it mean to you?
I think they're totally different. Spirituality is something that's common to everyone, regardless of gender, age, national origin. It's your ability to connect with God. Religion, historically, has been man's attempt to fashion a specific belief system, which unfortunately, in many instances, has ended up in situations where people are dominated, they're definitely taxed, they're controlled, there's a lot of judgmentalism. Jesus himself was not against organized religion. The way I read the Bible, he was upset at the hypocrisy of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But the beautiful thing about spiritualism is that it transcends any religion. It's just the individual's ability to connect with God. And, anytime you get people involved in organizations, that's where there's often problems. For they're saying, oh no, you don't immerse, you sprinkle. Oh, you don't do this, you have to do this. And a lot of the conflicts in the world are brought about by people that are so devout in their form of belief and so judgmental that there's no room for anybody else in their belief system. I think John Lennon once said, I love humanity, it's just people that I can't stand.
I myself, I'm not an avid Bible reader, but I have read it all the way through when I was younger. And there's quite a few things in there that didn't really quite make total sense to me. Like on the 6th day, God created man. On the 7th day, he rested. Well, later on, he starts talking about Adam and Eve, and then you got all these theories and evolution and actual evidence of bones that dates way before Christ was born, of human people and so forth, and all this. And I'm like thinking, okay, so I think I got it figured out in my head. For me, that makes sense. What I think actually may have occurred is like on the 6th day when God created man, that's when he actually created the caveman. And then when he created man in his own image, he was bettering it, and that's when Adam and Eve came in. Because there's also parts in the Bible where it says it's against God's law for incestuous relationship. Well, hello, we're just from Adam and Eve. We're all of incestuous relationships, so it kind of contradicts itself. But with us having different races of people and different continents and so forth, that's what I think ended up actually happening, was that caveman was the one that he made originally, and then Adam and Eve is who he made to improve and start the evolutionary process to where their children, got with the caveman and so forth and everything else, to where we weren't incestuous. At least that's the way I kind of feel like it might have happened in my head. Not everybody's right, but that'd be my theory. Because that's what it feels right, because then we're not an incestuous relationship, where if we were only from Adam and Eve, we all would be.
Well, the ancient Hebrews probably never went 5 miles from the place they were born. They might have had one change of clothing. They were very, very primitive people. And to explain to them that the Earth and the solar system and the galaxies were created over billions and billions of years would go straight over their heads. So I think that a lot of the things in the Bible are not to be taken literally, but it's a way for very, very, very simple people to explain universal truths. Most people, I don't think, believe that the Earth was created in 7 24-hour days, but it was such an easy way to explain it to people who, wore robes and sandals and walked out in the desert looking for their food.
Well, I gotta say this: everybody was primitive 5,000-6,000 years ago. It wasn't just the ancient Hebrews; everybody was.
Of course.
And it wasn't a primitive nature to the particular region of the world or the culture who inhabited it. It was just that humanity hadn't developed very much up to that point in time.
I just mentioned the Jews because that's where the Bible started or came from.
Well, there's some other things that I feel about it. I feel like the Bible's actually a manuscript. It's kind of like a guide for us on how to learn to live our lives, because God is our Father. And I, as a parent, I hope that one day my kids will leave the nest. Nowadays, you're lucky if they're out of the house by their 40s. But anyways, What I think a lot of it is, as far as that, is that it's a guide. It's like God saying, okay, I'm teaching you, I'm training you. And then when it gets to the book of the Revelations, if you think about numerology and so forth, the Revelations is the last chapter of the Bible as we know the New Testament, correct? Well, I think that that's actually God's way of kicking us out of the nest and say, sink or swim. You're on your own. I'm not giving you no more advice from this point. You either sink or you swim.
That's what the expulsion from the Garden of Eden was. It was the proverbial fledgling flying out of the nest scenario. There's a belief that the tree of knowledge was placed in the middle of the Garden of Eden precisely so that Adam and Eve would taste its fruit and gain the knowledge from it, which came with, of course, responsibility and the requirement that you make your own way in the world and be responsible for your actions. That was where free will, in the Bible at least, is first given to people.
Well, the reason why I think that Revelations is the final thing for him is because of the numbers, numerologically, of the mark of the beast is 666, which is numerologically a 9. Because you take the 6's times by 3 is 18, 1 plus 8 is 9. And in numerology, 9 means completion, and it is the completion of the Bible itself. So that's why I feel that it's just him finally kicking us out of the nest, because he made Adam and Eve earlier on in the Bible, but all throughout the Bible up to that point, he's still guiding us, he's still teaching us and training us. It's just after the Revelations, it's like, hey, you're on your own. I'm taking my hands off of it. You're either going to follow me and do what's right and be a good kid, or you're not.
It's worth noting that the majority of humankind doesn't actually have the book of Revelations in their belief system.
I can say that part I didn't know. I've studied certain spiritualities and religions in my life, but not every single one of them. I'll admit to that. It's based on what I've studied. And I feel that people should always go by what they believe, what feels right to them, because I ultimately believe that other than the church that's all down on the corner, we're the house of the Lord. When we love, trust, and respect ourselves, we love, trust, and respect in God, because He dwells in here as in our hearts.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't think you have to go to church to say you believe, and that's where a lot of the belief system's wrong. And within the countries, you have to go to church to believe. Whereas, I think as long as you believe here, you don't necessarily have to go listen to what that preacher says. Because I think now it's getting to where more churches are more money makers, because they keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, versus you saying, hey, I believe this is where I stand, and this is what I have to do to do the right thing, to show my beliefs.
Yeah, churches have become churches have become a big business in a lot of ways.
And I think that's where the society's going backwards, is now it's not to where what can that church do to help the folks that are going there. Now it's what can we do to make our church even bigger.
Well, one of the things that's always kind of perturbed me, almost every church I've ever been in, when you find, they act all really nice and loving and all that to you. But as soon as they ask me what I do for a living and I tell them, it's like I'm the plague. They run away. It's like, I'm out of here. Like I'm a devil or something, and I'm not. I've had these abilities ever since I was a child. I don't remember anything else. I see angels. I hear angels. I've seen them work in my own life. They've saved my life several times. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt they do exist. And one of the things that I don't quite understand is the ones who are so stout and believer of God says that there can't be anything else. Once you're dead, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Okay, well, you believe in God, you can't see Him. Why can't there be other things that exist that works alongside of God that's working with Him? Because there's billions of people on this earth, billions. How's God going to hear everybody at the same time and help each person? Yeah, He's everywhere, but He can't do everything at once. He's all-knowing.
Every now and then, he tells you no.
Well, He helps, but He also has helpers. That's what the angels are there for. That's why there's angels. There's angels. Angels are God's helper. And there's different levels of angels. I know a lot of people, because it's depicted in the pictures and so forth, a lot of them think females can be angels as well. Nope. Angels are all masculine, and even though they may show themselves in the forms of the ethnic background that they're around at the time, They're actually all light complected with blonde hair and blue eyes, and they're all male. If anyone ever thinks they see a female angel, it's not an angel. You need to get away from that. As far as when they talk, let me ask any of you this. Have any of you ever had your ears start ringing?
Yes.
Do you know what that is? You're hearing angels talking to you. But like a dog whistle to a dog's ears, which is why they howl, it causes your ears to ring. What you got to train yourself to do, and I'm chilling right now, maybe my kids want in video, maybe that'd be cool. But anyways, when you hear that ring, you got to train yourself and consider the ringing in your ears. You got to consider the ringing in your ears like the dull roar of a crowded room, and the angel being the person in front of you that you can hear perfectly clearly. When I hear what I call the regular angels of God, their voices remind me of like a metallic Alvin and the Chipmunks. And then when I hear Michael or Gabriel or Raphael, they still have a metallic twang to their voices, but they remind me of a cross between the high-pitched screech of an owl and someone taking their nails down a chalkboard. But it's not your physical ear, so you're not going to cringe when you hear it. But that's what it'll remind you of. Another way that they'll talk to you is sometimes through your dream state. And what they'll do, as an example, I had a hernia, and I'd had it for like 16, 17 years. Well, I had a dream in black and white that I died. And I'm like, uh-oh. It kind of scared me at first. I go, I hope this don't repeat, because I know repeating dreams is usually going to happen. Second night, had the same dream, but different way. I died, but different way. I go, okay. So this is a near-death thing, because if I was that meant to die, it'd have been the exact same dream. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I told my fiance, and I don't know why 4 o'clock came in my head, but it came in my head. I go, if my hernia doesn't go down by 4 o'clock tomorrow, I need to go to the ER. Well, it didn't go down. So I was at the ER, Southeast Memorial no less, and that place is hardly ever not busy. Nobody was there. I walked straight up, got straight in. They took me back. They were taking care of me, getting my vitals and stuff. And all of a sudden you see a nurse walk through and she goes, man, where'd all these people come from? It was quiet just a second ago. So it's like I instinctively knew what the angels told me to be there at what time. And they had just opened that gateway to where I got right up there. I had no waiting at all, period. Now, I will admit, when the doctor came in after the test and said, we're taking you into surgery right now, I started to tear up a little bit. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I being foolish? Why am I crying? Because I had prepared myself for maybe the next day's surgery, right? And all of a sudden he's saying right now. And I'm like, And then I thought, wait a minute, why am I crying? The angels told me I'm going to be okay as long as I followed what they told me. And I followed it to the letter, and I'm sitting here now.
Wow, it's all angels.
Huh? I'm not really sure. They have not told me that part yet. All throughout the spirituality, all throughout my spiritual learning, I learn more and more all the time. Just like the most recent thing that they've taught me was that there's 7 classes of spirits that are actually in heaven. We have the regular human spirits. We have the human spirits that have decided to become guides. We have the human spirits that have decided to be guardians. Now, so you'll know, your guides and guardians are your actual true soulmates. They're people that you've been with in previous past lives that's followed you over in this lifetime to watch and guide over you. There is no such thing as a soulmate here on earth. What is here on earth is known as kindred spirits. Kindred spirits are the ones we've shared past lives with that's followed us here in physical form. But there's usually karmic situations that we have to learn through them. So once those karmic issues are ironed out, the relationship can either continue by free will, or it goes its own separate way, so you can learn your next set of lessons from the next kindred spirit you bump into. Then you got your twin flames, as far as the ones that walk amongst us. And they're ones you actually physically were either a twin or an identical twin as in a previous past life. So your lives will mirror when you come across them, different areas of your lives, the same things would have happened to each other. And they make for great friends, but they don't make for great lovers because of the fact your subconscious knows sibling, sibling, sibling. And we're always taught incest is wrong. So we automatically make good friends, but the lover part usually don't work out most of the time, unless you can overcome that subconscious memory. Now, going back to the levels of beings in heaven, we've already talked about the human, the humans that are guides, the humans that are guardians. Then you've got the regular angels of God. You've got the archangels like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and so forth. Then you have Jesus Christ, and you have God Almighty. There's 7 levels of spiritual beings there in heaven. And I actually have caught a few spirits in heaven itself when I've done my mediumship. One of them, the lady told me, I'm in heaven. So okay, you're in heaven. And you could actually see like the mist coming up off of a lake is the way I saw her visual. And then it was like a log cabin with an old rusty tractor here and a big, big tree over here with a tire swing in it. Well, when I described it to her daughter, she goes, oh my God, that's her house in Colorado. So apparently from what I can tell by the people I've caught in heaven, heaven is what we make of it. It's our happy place where we spend eternity, or however long we choose. Does anybody have any questions on so far? Okay, well, let's go to the next subject about it. All right, Earth is level 1, heaven is level 7, and there's 7 realms altogether. Now, the way the spirits have explained it to me, level 2 is what they call the void. It's a period of darkness, but it's not bad darkness. It's just between earth and the light, basically. And sometimes the spirit will stay there for several reasons. Either they're afraid to go to the light because they did something bad and they were taught because they did something bad and didn't ask for forgiveness or was baptized or go to hell, so they're fearful. They could also stay there because they were murdered and they're waiting for their death to come, people to be vindicated. It could also be that maybe somebody they left behind is really emotionally attached to them and they don't want to let go. And then you also have the one that's in between level 2 and level 1, which we call the tween world up there in the spiritual realm, where if somebody's like killed in an accident or something, they might be repeating or not realizing they're even dead. And those are the ones that actually end up being the complaints from people of paranormal activity, because they don't realize they're dead and they're trying to interact with us and they're moving shit around saying, hey, see me, I'm here. So those are the ones that usually need help and letting them know, mediums like her and I come into the situation where we try to help them cross into level 2 so they can get to level 3.
So that is where you get the phrase earthbound spirits?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Pretty much. And then we have the entrance into the light itself, which is level 3. We have level 4, which I caught a spirit in there before, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's a rainbow-colored crystal cavern. There's all these different bright-colored crystals surrounding it and goes towards that light. That is such a pretty place. It'd bring tears to your eyes if you ever saw it in your physical form, because one day you're going to be going through it yourself. Well, when you get to level 5, they tell me they call it the time machine, because you can go back into any moments of the life that you just lived and relive for a brief moment in time. So you can take that lesson with you that you maybe didn't learn from it when you originally went through the situation while you were here on Earth. Then level 6 is what they call the guff. That's where every memory of every past life you've ever lived comes flooding back to your spirit, so you can analyze it to see what you've already learned and make an informed decision of what you want to do next. And you can make one of 3 decisions. You can either go to heaven and rest permanently, go to heaven and rest for a little while, or you can immediately jump right back in, and if you choose that, you need to decide what lessons you're going to learn in this particular lifetime. And you actually choose your parents that's going to best set you up to learn those lessons, and then you're reborn. About 90% of the time, when people are reborn, they're reborn into the same circle of family and friends that they had just came from, which I think is pretty cool as well.
Depends on your family, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Or, you have free will. You always have free will. You have free will here. You have free will in spirit form. You've always got your free will to do whatever it is that you want. And what I like telling my clients a lot of times, that nobody has to live with your decisions from the time you're born to the time you die except for you. And as long as you feel good about the decision you're making, then you know that you're making the right decision. Any questions so far? Since these are already my clients, which one of you ladies would like to possibly ask a question? Okay. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you cup your hand like this, and I'm going to go underneath. While I'm under you, I want you to just visualize your energy going into the center point of my palm from the center point of your palm. Eventually, I'm going to go over the top of you. I'm going to say flip, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to you. While I'm over the top of you, there's a high likelihood you're going to feel some type of sensation right there in the palm. Don't freak out. It's just me, my energy connecting in with your energy. Okay? You can ask anything. You can ask about if you can trust somebody. You can ask on the current path your relationship's on with somebody, what's most likely to occur. You can ask how's things going to go in your career.
We'll do career.
Okay. What do you mind saying the name of the place that you work for?
It's Walmart.
Okay, Walmart. All right. What I'm going to have you do while we're doing that exchange of energy, you're going to focus on the current path my career at Walmart is on. How are things going to be going for me between now and the end of this year?
Okay.
And I'm going to watch and listen as we're exchanging the energy, okay?
Okay. You want me to come back underneath? as
First,
well, or
you're
just
going to
leave
be
it?
over top.
Okay.
And then when I say flip, you're going to go under and I'll go over.
Okay,
But
making sure.
never touch me.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, flip over for me. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch you there. Okay, go ahead and put your hand down. Now, here's the thing. We always can focus on a specific thing, but that's not necessarily what's going to come out, okay? We are focusing on your job, so I'm assuming this is going to happen on your job, but there's something to do with a health scare coming around September 17th to the September 27th. This is 9/17 to a 9/27 time frame. There is a slight possibility that could be the time of day, AM or PM, that it occurs as well. So just remember 9/17, 9/27 date or time for a health scare to occur, most likely there at the job. Doesn't necessarily mean it's of yours, it doesn't mean it's you. It could be a patron there at the store, it could be anybody. But they're mentioning something about a health scare on that specific date or time of day. Okay? Now, as far as the career itself goes, from what I was getting off the energy is that everything is where it's supposed to be at this point. There is opportunity for some growth there, but it's not really what you want to be doing. It seems like Walmart's more what you're doing right now just so you can have something coming in. But I feel like there's a larger part of you that wants to basically explore outward from that, but maybe has a little bit of fear because for one reason or another. And so you're like kind of like keeping yourself stuck. Well, they're saying that eventually you need to let go of that fear and actually follow that path of your dream because you can achieve it. But it's going to take you only as long to achieve it as you hold yourself back from starting it. Does all that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else want to ask a question or would like to have an aura reading done? Basically, an aura reading is the colors that surround your body, and I tell you what the colors are and what they mean.
So what do we have to do?
Would you like to be the one?
Well, you have to tell me what I'm
All
going
you
to do
gotta, all
first.
you gotta do is sit there. All I have to do is have permission to do it.
I do it.
Okay, first off, you do have a tiny bit of yellow that's really close to your skin. Yellow is usually associated with some type of genetic illness that you are prone towards that's in your family, but it's either being kept under control currently or is going to end up manifesting eventually. Okay, just so you'll know, that's the first color closest to your skin. Then you have a little bit of dark blue with some static going through the blue. Now, blue is always associated with emotion. The lighter the shade the blue is, the purer the emotion is. And yours is kind of dark with that static going through. Well, when it goes through the emotional color, what it means is that there's some type of emotional confusement in your life going on at the moment that you're not really too sure about how you should handle it. but you do have green that overshadows that. And green is a healing color, which means whatever you're confused about emotionally right now, you've almost got the answer. You just have to keep having faith. In other words, your first original thought is going to be your right thought about what to do. Don't keep second guessing yourself, because the second guessing of yourself is what's keeping that emotion cloudy, because you're not trusting what it is that you're wanting to do about the situation you're confused about in the first place. Then you actually have a lot of white around you. White is usually associated with the angelic realm, but it's also associated with a lot of the women because it's also lunar energy, which means you need to start taking notice as far as like when the moon's going full, if that's when all the more positive things are going on in your life, and when the moon's going small, if that's when things get chaotic and you just want to pull your hair out and scream and punch somebody out.
I do that all the time.
So just start noticing the way the moon goes. There's also a website called Spreaker.com where you can do a search for the Pamela Rivette radio show. And I would suggest listening to the audio about spiritually cleansing yourself in your home. And I'll tell you step by step how to cleanse yourself in your home. And that'll help clean up some of that blue too. It'll make you feel a lot better too. Just free information there on the internet. Anyways, folks, we are at our location at Orlando's restaurant. Again, he's been in business for 32 years. Next time we visit a restaurant, we may be at another location. Wherever it is we will be, though, our next topic is going to be more on the angelic realm, about people's experiences with the angels, and maybe even do some mediumship session with some of the folks that come out, as long as they bring the items we need. Anyways, this is Pamela Rivette with Parachat Talk Show. Have a blessed day.